Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
Episode 40. Oh, I almost said 41 when I literally 43.
Yep.
I did the right hand motion,
Yep.
and then I said 41. Episode 43.
Yep.
We are cooking right along.
Yep.
So today we are talking about something that kind of feels like we were going to talk about, but it probably wouldn't have usually been now.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and another thing is like I feel like we kind of mentioned this. We've mentioned this a couple times. Never really got into the weeds of it.
Yep, we're gonna get into the weeds of it a bit more today.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that I think the reason we're talking about this today, what we are talking about is talking about spring scouting. We're talking about how you can use your ozonics when you're out spring scouting. Not really per se. You could use your ozonics in the spring if you're really, really worried about setting up an area, right? Put it on the kinetic pack or put it on your backpack.
Right.
But the idea of really what we're trying to, the crux of what we're getting to is talking about using your ozonics and looking at the spots that you're hunting and how your ozonics can change the way you might hunt those spots.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of almost like thinking ahead.
Yep.
Here's where I'm going to hunt. How am I going to set up my ozonics? What's the wind probably going to be doing?
Yep.
Getting in that process right away.
I think that's really what we want to get into today is really dive deep into the idea of looking at your spots during this time of year, using the intel that's still left on the ground and on the trees from the fall, and then thinking about how, with the power of your ozonics, to not only hunt the wind, but start really hunting the deer and really honing in.
Yeah.
And how your ozonics is going to help you do that.
Yeah.
I think, this conversation is usually, or was going to be something that we were going to talk about here in a few weeks. But interestingly, the perfect example is Randy and I driving across from Iowa to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lick of snow. Yeah. There was a skiff of snow across Iowa.
Yeah. we
got down to Des Moines, you got over to Iowa City, you got over toward Davenport, and then as soon as you got over towards Davenport, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy. So basically almost all the way across the state of Iowa, there was hardly any. Illinois, there was none. Indiana, there was none. Ohio, there was none. Pennsylvania, there was none.
Yeah.
There was no snow.
Yeah, we got a little snow last week in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I was home last weekend. And
Des Moines got a little skiff.
Yeah,
I was in Des Moines last weekend.
There's a decent bit of snow up there. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, normally this time of year, it's...
Yeah. And so I think when you think about once the snow melts, and again, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. It's mid-February here. It's crazy to think that.
It's so weird.
Because it is it's February 21st. This episode will air next Monday, whatever day that is.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because there is nothing. We live in Clear Lake. The lake is almost completely iced off.
Yep.
It's just wild. And so as soon as the snow starts to melt, everybody gets the itch to get out and do some shed hunting, right? And we could talk about that for days too. But I think the thing that when you are doing your shed hunting, and what I feel like I've started to do these last few years, as much shed hunting when I'm out in the woods, is really try to use the spring when that snow first melts off. You can really find those scrapes. You can really find those rubs to know the great trails that the deer were using, to really hone in on what did I experience last fall? What did I see for myself when I was out hunting during the rut?
Yeah.
And now what is the ground telling me? What's the environment telling me, right? And just use that intel to really step it up and to take it to the next level for the following fall.
Yeah.
I think you really saw that firsthand on a piece of public that we've talked a lot of different times, that you were like, hey man, I really want to get out there and just check on some other sides of stuff that you're a little bit more afraid to go in there. It's really tough on wind to get in there. So it's kind of hard to hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard not to bump deer out of there. Well, the great thing about the spring is you can tromp around. It's not going to really make that big of a difference.
Yeah.
If there's a time of year when you can really kind of go into those sanctuary areas, when you can go into those kind of untapped areas, the spots where you just don't feel like you can push the limit or you're afraid to bump deer out of, now's the time.
Yeah.
If you're on private land, it's really the great time too to start cutting lanes, cutting branches down, getting stuff out of the way before everything leaves out.
Hanging sets even.
Hanging sets. Yeah, we talk a lot about that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you took your e-bike out on a piece of public ground and went into kind of a area of it that you hadn't gone into before.
Yeah. Well, actually, funny thing about it is the spot that I checked out was a spot that I put a camera up right away last year. But I had it up there for probably 2 weeks. Didn't have
I forgot about this.
I didn't have a single picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just too early, but at the time there wasn't a value in having the camera there. So I went and pulled it and put it somewhere else.
And I had hunted that.
Yeah. You had hunted this little spot and
shot a nice buck
out of there. And so I'm like, I mean, that was a couple of years ago. I'm like, I don't know if maybe they're using different parts of the piece a little different, maybe. Who knows? But I pulled the camera down. Well, and another thing about that too is when I put the camera up, that was the first time I was in that area. I just went out there, hung the camera, got out. I didn't scout it at all last spring. Well, so I went out to do some shed hunting, and pretty quickly it just turned into doing some scouting, because this is the spot that they took out a whole big chunk of what we primarily hunted. So it's like, okay, we need to figure out something else, you know? And so I went over to that spot and it
was all ripped up.
It was just torn to shreds. I mean, rubs everywhere.
Yeah.
There was
huge scrapes.
2 big scrapes.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is right where I had the camera, I was 10, 15 yards off of where all that was happening.
Yeah.
I was just a little bit, I had to go just a little deeper to get to where it was really good. And so that's just the value in taking this time and going in there and getting some more intel, because now I know exactly where the 2 big scrapes are. I can tell how they travel through this little chunk. I found some rubs, and it was really cool to see, and it felt really good because it felt like we just added just another small piece to the puzzle of that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like you said, the spring is a great time to try to open up that opportunity to really get that intel on what's going on.
Yeah.
It can kind of start to, it's like every fall is a story. And there's a lot of times that the story, you don't get to the end.
Right.
Right. But the springtime is a great way to kind of see the parts of the story that you don't really understand. Like, okay, well, I didn't really understand this part. Oh, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No wonder I didn't get any pictures here, because they were kind of right around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Spots that you're not willing to go deeper into. You don't want to bump it. You don't want to pressure it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Spring's a great time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing I think that's interesting too, and that's really what we wanted to focus today about too, was, what I do in the springtime when I go out and look at spots is even when I'm out now, you go out and you say, okay, where do I have stands set for the wind?
Yeah.
We all know where we've got those stands. I mean, we have those stands now. But then I ask myself, based on what I'm seeing, where would I set stands for the deer?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's different. And pre-Ozonics, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I would never just set stands based around the deer, because I didn't want to bump deer.
Right.
I was all the way hunting the wind. I mean, it sounds funny to say, but literally just hunting the wind. I'd set stands for the wind. I'd hunt the wind. And sometimes hunting the wind isn't hunting the deer.
Right.
You follow?
Yep.
And there is a good chunk of the season that's the way you have to do it, because you don't want to bump the deer. And we get asked this a lot at the consumer shows. It's like, well, so do you respect the wind? Like, do you hunt the wind? Yes, man, I do. 100%.
Yeah.
Hunt the wind, but do I hunt the wind if the deer season goes from September 1st until January 10th? Let's just say that's not Iowa 100%, but it could be, or some states, whatever the season is. If it's 4 months long and that equals 120 days, right?
Yep.
Am I going to hunt the wind 120 days? No. Am I going to hunt the wind 110 days? Yeah, maybe.
But those 10 days, it could be huge.
And if there's a cold front in October, I'm not going to hunt the wind. If it's the peak of the rut and I'm seeing unbelievable buck activity on their feet, trail cameras are lighting up, I'm not going to hunt the wind. I'm going to go hunt the deer.
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is that guys like you and me, we're like a lot of people. We don't get to hunt every single day of the season.
Yeah.
The 120 days of season, I don't hunt 120 days.
Yeah.
I don't hunt 30 days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I have to really hone in when I can go, because I have a job.
Yeah.
Ozonics.
Exactly.
I've got kids, right? I've got responsibilities. I've got other things that pull my time away, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't get to hunt all the time.
Right.
Like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so that's where, for me, use the spring as a time to look at what's out there, find those rubs, find those scrapes, and then hone in on, okay, the power of Ozonics is going to allow me to do things differently.
Yeah.
Not just hunt the wind, hunt the deer.
Yeah, exactly.
And hone in. I mean, you're talking about going out to a spot that it's funny because it is a pressured public spot.
Yeah.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you can drive by there in the fall and there's always trucks there.
Yeah,
there's
whether it be deer hunters, pheasant hunters.
It doesn't
Pheasant
matter.
hunters are the biggest pressure for it, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I'm actually talking about the other spot.
Oh,
yeah.
The one that I'm going to tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
My
I
bad.
mean, the spot that we first are describing, that's got cars there all the time.
Yeah.
And this other spot has cars there even more than this one.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, 100% does.
100%.
You drive by there any day of the year, not every day of the year, I shouldn't say that. You drive there during hunting season. You drive in the springtime during turkey season, and then you go drive there in the fall, and there's somebody out there.
Yep.
Whether he's squirrel hunting, he's rabbit hunting, a ton of deer hunting, he's turkey hunting, that public spot gets a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, with LiDAR maps, for example, and just the fact of just understanding that the deer got to move somehow, and they got to get from this river bottom up over here into this top area, there's got to be some sort of dynamic trail that these deer are using off of this hill.
Yep.
Right? This piece of public is on a top and then it drops off into a bottom.
Yep.
And we've looked at that, and I've said a lot. I'm like, well, this spring we've got to go there and find that dynamic trail. There's got to be a trail in there that those deer are using to get from the bottom to the top, top to the bottom.
There has to be.
And there's got to be some insane scrapes in there. There's got to be.
Yeah.
And like I said, your e-bike really opens opportunity for you to go check out those spots.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it'd be really interesting to see what you see.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to the Ozonics, the spot where I personally kind of think that I'll be able to find some stuff, you're never going to get the perfect wind there.
Right.
With just how the topography lays out.
And that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not a coincidence that your best spots are where the wind is squirrely, and that is where the deer are.
Yep.
They know that.
Yep. And so that's where the mindset of Ozonics comes in. It opens that door for you.
Yeah.
Because now when I go down there and hopefully find what I'm looking for, I know that I'll be able to be safe. I mean, in that spot, deer are going to be coming basically, I guess if you're looking north, they're going to be coming left to right, but they very well could be coming right to left.
Yep.
It's like, so no matter, but we're never going to have that good crosswind to help that. It's almost always going to be blowing left to right or right to left, the way the deer are going to be moving.
Yep.
And so it's like, that's where the Ozonics comes in, and you can go find the spot, and you can't be like, dang it, how the heck am I going to hunt this? You can say, I'm going to hunt this. I'm going to put the Ozonics in my tree and be golden.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is really fresh on our brains right now, especially being just off of 9 days at Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Where you're having a lot of men and women walking up at the shows saying, all right, my number one got me. Pegged me, that was it. I can't afford to go do that again.
Yeah.
I can't bump him like that again.
Yeah.
I need something. And that's where I always talk about Ozonics. I always say the rule of 10.
Mm-hmm.
If Ozonics can give you 10 feet, 10 yards, 10 steps, 10 seconds, right? If it can give you 10 extra, what could have happened if you just think about your season last year?
Right.
If you could have gotten 10 extra feet, 10 extra seconds, 10 extra yards, 10 extra steps, what would you have harvested? What opportunities would have been opened up?
Exactly.
And so I think that really gets people like, oh, geez, oh, Pete's.
Yeah.
And I see it work even more than that. You know what I mean? But again, we're trying to underpromise and overdeliver. But I see it work more than just the rule of 10.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is we're going back to what we were talking about earlier about the fact that we don't get to hunt all the time, and you're trying to put the odds in your favor. The other thing I think that it comes down to as a deer hunter is we're all trying to maximize opportunity.
Yeah.
We're trying to maximize opportunity.
Yep.
We're trying to maximize the time that we have. Some people are blessed and fortunate enough to be able to go hunting the entire season.
Right.
And they give themselves a ton of opportunity, right? It's just, if you stand at a craps table and you can only roll the dice twice, or you can stand at a craps table and roll the dice 20 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You can still win on 2 rolls.
Yeah.
But You know what I mean? You have a better chance when you roll 20 times.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yep.
And so I think that's where an Ozonics becomes such a valuable tool in trying to maximize that opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, how many guys did we talk to at Harrisburg that are, and we're going to the Iowa Deer Classic. This is airing on Monday. We'll be setting the Iowa Deer Classic on Thursday. It starts on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to people at Iowa the entire week that are at the entire weekend that are saying, I drew Iowa.
Yep.
Right? I drew Iowa. I know I'm going to draw. I've got 5 points. I'm coming here. Me and my dad or me and my buddy, we're hunting public ground. We're hunting with this outfitter. And we're so stoked. We just wanted to come and experience the Iowa Deer Classic. And we're meeting with our outfitter. We're meeting with another guy, blah, 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 blah. We're piggybacking, going to the Iowa Deer Classic. Then we've been shed hunting all week or blah, 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 blah. We're looking at spots. I tell you what I think about those guys. And that's what I always talk to them about. I'm like, man, dude, are you using Ozonics? Because the last thing I want to see you do is come from, let's say, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's a one really, really big day drive or 2 decent day drives,
Yeah.
right, of gas or flights or whatever to get here. Then you're maybe paying an outfitter or you're paying for a hotel and you're paying for your food and your lodging, everything else, and you've had to buy the non-resident deer tag.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And now we haven't even gotten into just the gear.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to be shooting your bow from 7 years ago. You're probably getting a brand new bow.
Yeah.
And you've got all this gear, and then we're talking about camo and all this stuff, and you spent this huge amount of money to come out here and hunt Iowa whitetails.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't bring an Ozonics, you get a deer on the downwind side, it wins you.
Right.
Right? Like when I ask that question to people at the shows on the phone, what happens when you get deer down? What happens when you get a deer downwind? Every guy says the same thing. Well, they win me. How often? Every time.
Yeah.
You know? And you do all this stuff and you come here to get winded.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's try to maximize that opportunity.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Not saying that Ozonics works 100% of the time, but do I see it work 8 out of 10 times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, do I get away with more than I don't get away with? Absolutely.
Yep.
You know, and again, you do all this stuff to come here. Like let's maximize those 5 to 7 to 10 days, 10 days if you're lucky, if you can pull it off of work to be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and this is kind of going back a little bit, but I just wanted to say this. You know, like we say that, you know, majority of the year we're hunting the wind, and then those few days we're hunting the deer. Don't think that when we say we're hunting the wind, that the Ozonics isn't a crucial tool.
Right.
Because the spot that we talked about first, where I went and found those scripts and stuff, that's the perfect example of still using your Ozonics, even though the majority of the stuff is going to be coming from upwind of you.
Yep.
Because it's kind of a small area, and if that pesky doe or something gets downwind of you and you don't have the Ozonics, well then guess what?
Well,
You're done.
Yeah, I talk about that all the time. I talk about hunting the right way, right? The right stand on the right day on the right wind.
Right.
The majority of people, when we talk to them and when you ask them, how do you hunt? Like if you're sitting in a tree stand, if you're sitting in a ground blind, like how do you hunt? And everybody says, I hunt the wind in my face.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
They try to put the area that they're hunting out in front of them, and they try to put the spot that they think the deer might not come from at their back.
Yeah.
Right. But the reality is that's not how it works.
No.
You know, and I tell people when guys buy an Ozonics, first thing I tell them is I say, listen, man, hunt the right way. Hunt the right stand on the right day on the right wind. Don't do anything any different.
Yeah.
Just exhaust ozone the downwind side.
Yeah.
So, which basically means you're probably hunting the wind in your face. So just get that unit mounted on the side of the tree, point it behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
Exhaust that ozone on the downwind side and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to find out is what everyone experiences is you're going to have a deer walk in on your downwind side and say, where did you come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, guys come back the next year at the shows every year and they go, yeah, man, like I did exactly what you said. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Well,
I had a deer walk in and I thought, I've never had deer come from that way.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much me being in that spot was affecting
everything.
the way that the deer moved through there.
Yep.
I mean, you'll hear Scott Elrod, the owner of Ozonics, talk a lot about affecting a deer's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do when we go hunting. We're affecting a deer's behavior.
Yeah.
Especially when you're bow hunting. It's a sport of close.
Yeah.
When you're getting under 50, 40, 30, 20 yards of an animal, you start to see how they move and how they act and the mannerisms of the animal. And if you see a deer on the upwind side that's unaffected, they act pretty calm. They act pretty chill.
Yep.
They still have instincts. They're looking up and they're smelling and they're trying to see. You get a deer on the downwind side, pre-ozonics, and they are not going to act the way they act normally.
Nope.
You know, we're affecting their behavior.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just interesting when you hear guys that go out there, and that is a great point. We still use ozonics every day of the season. And again, I respect the wind. And it's not that we don't hunt the wind, but I'm using ozonics to help me on kind of like my blind side.
Yeah. Yeah.
You follow me?
Yep.
And so when a deer does walk in, because they do,
Yeah.
you know, it's not coincidence that you hear these stories all the time. Yeah, man, that buck came from the completely wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just, that's how it works.
Yeah. Or something funky happens. It comes in the right way, but I mean, a lot of times, you know, deer hunting's hard. A lot of times they don't do exactly what you want, and eventually they're going to end up downwind of you.
Yeah, I always joke there's two things that you can't control when you hunt. You can't control the weather and you can't control the animals.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you want to control one of the two, go to a high fence, right?
Exactly.
And there's guys that do that. More power to them. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I mean, I've met some really cool guys over the years. I will never forget. We were in Ohio years and years ago, and a guy walked up. He shot this absolutely slobber knocker. I mean, it was a slob.
Yeah.
Like 230-inch whitetail.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he like wasn't that excited about it. And I was like, man, that's awesome. You know, we were talking along and I'm like, that is just a crank and this and that. And then finally he made a comment. He's like, well, it was in a high fence. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, and you could tell he was kind of like waiting for me to like react or be like, oh. And I said, listen, man, like I've worked with guys that have like own high fence ranches, and you know, I kind of have a whole new perspective on that.
Yeah.
It's not for me. You know what I mean? But like when the buddy that I worked with that owned a high fence ranch, like he talked a lot about how there's a lot of dads that, you know, have never hunted. They don't know what to do.
Yep.
They got a boy that really wants to go.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, I want to go hunting. Hey, I want to shoot deer. Hey, I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm watching this on TV. I want to shoot a deer. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
He's like, I get a ton of first-time hunters, first-time dads with their 7, 8, 10-year-old little boy that wants to go hunting. And he's like, I look at it as kind of an opportunity to teach him and point him in the right direction. He goes, ends up not being a lot of returning clients sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know how we got on that subject, but yeah, like you said, you can't control the weather. You can't control the animals.
Yeah.
And they're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to come in the way they want to come in.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you know, it's, you know, I feel like even in this day and age right now, even this, to the point of what's going on in the springtime, you know, it's just, we have no snow and the ground is dried out. I mean, you've been out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like I even look at my yard, it's just dry as a bone. Like it's not like you're tracking in mud in February.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
Yep.
You know? And so which again, we're going to get some more snow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look at Pennsylvania, for example.
Yeah.
Harrisburg hadn't had measurable snow in like 300 some days. The day after we left, they got like 5 to 8 or 10 inches.
Yeah.
It just like, they just got smashed.
Yeah.
So we're going to get some more snow. But even with that said, everybody's trying to put in food plots. Not yet, but they're going to be here before you know it. You know what I mean? And, you know, you talk about hunting over food plots, putting tree stands over food plots. That's a whole thing of, okay, where do we set stands based on the wind around this plot?
Yeah.
Even though you probably know that deer is not going to come out where that stand is.
Yeah.
You follow me? We talk about hunting the wind and hunting the deer. You know, I don't have food plots. I have cornfields and bean fields that I hunt around on the edges of. And I do that all the time. Okay, where would I set stands for the wind? Okay, well, this is probably where I need to be.
Right.
And then where am I going to set stands for the deer? And when it gets right down to it, I'm going to get a lot more aggressive. I'm going to set them accordingly where I think that deer is going to step out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because once a deer comes into a food plot, that's great. But a lot of times, sometimes food plots can be tricky because he comes into that field and then you don't know where he's going to go after that. Do you follow me?
Exactly.
It's like you're concentrating them down to get in. And then once they get in, then they go wherever they want.
Right.
It can get harder.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
No, 100%. I guess the moral of the story is normally right now we're not even thinking about this stuff, but given the weather, I think it's time to really start thinking about going and do some scouting. And because like we were talking earlier, it's going to be getting green here before you know it.
Oh man. Well, that's what's wild. I've seen trees budding.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been seeing on TikTok, guys have been tapping trees for maple syrup. I mean, I know that sap's running. Yeah. If the sap's running, the trees are waking back up.
Yeah, exactly.
You follow me?
Yep.
Yeah, I wish I knew like a forester or some sort of biologist to just ask them, like, how does that work if all of a sudden everything wakes up and then all of a sudden we get this really break cold again?
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Well, I would assume it means that all the buds are going to fall off and then everything's going to have to start over again.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because every time I look at my phone, I look at the 10-day, it looks great. Right? You know,
it's beautiful
I was gonna say it doesn't look good. Well, it looks great.
Yeah, it's beautiful weather.
It's not good for the fact that we probably need some snow.
Yeah.
And we probably need some moisture in the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything like that. But yeah, if this does hold up, which knock on wood, we still have the entire month of March and April. I mean, heck, dude, it was a few years ago, North Iowa got like 30 inches of snow in April. Yeah. So it's not like the snow we aren't gonna still get some, but like you said, there have been crazier things.
Yeah.
And like I said, take advantage of this while you can.
Yeah. Even from a, shooting your bow standpoint. I mean, normally people aren't going out and 2 feet of snow to shoot their bow, but I mean.
Yeah, that's actually a funny story that you say that. So this last weekend, we had a weekend home. So I went out on Saturday. The big thing I try to do in the springtime when I'm shooting my bow is I shoot a lot sitting down because when I spring turkey hunt, I hunt out of the ground blind a lot, all the time. And because I just really enjoy hunting out of a blind and I hunt with the kids out of the blind, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I went out on Saturday and I was like, oh, I'll just shoot my bow quick. I thought I could sneak out without Jet seeing me.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. I'll have to take a picture. So I shot my bow sitting down in the yard. I just shot at 20 yards, I didn't draw the way I normally draw in a bow, and I didn't draw my bow the way I normally draw in a blind. Usually, you can't see it if you're listening to this, but what I do when I draw my bow in a blind, especially, is I actually draw it low towards the ground, and then I kind of raise up. That's what I do. I used to do it when I shot my recurve. I had to be right here, and then it was a straight draw back.
Right.
But with the compound, you can kind of move it around a little bit more. So I try to usually draw low, and then I raise it up.
Yeah.
I didn't do that this time. I thought, hadn't shot my bow in a little while, so been gone, been the winter time. So I just shot in the yard, just normal, pull the bow back, shot at 20, sitting in a chair. Well, I got like 2 or 3 rounds. I shoot usually like 4 arrows at a time. So I shot 4, pull them, shot 4, pull them, shot 4, pull them. I got like 3 rounds in, and I could see Jet like peek over the couch, looking at me. It was like 2 minutes later, all of his stuff on, like his little green recurve bow thing in his hand. Here we go, baby.
Yeah.
So he's wanting to shoot with me. I'm like, all right. Well, then I came home yesterday and he had a cardboard box that he found in the garage, and it looked like a porcupine. There was arrows sticking out every which way. His quiver's laying out in the yard. It's like, man, bro, like, I'm like, so try to take care of stuff. I'm like, I'm trying to instill that in him, but he just doesn't. He just leaves it all over. I'm like, buddy, you gotta pick up your stuff. Like,
oh, that's funny.
Gus is like peeing on the quiver probably. It's just like, but yeah. So yeah, he caught me.
Yeah.
So now he's wanting to shoot his bow all the time.
Got the itch.
Oh yeah. But it is a great time, especially with this nice weather, to get out and
beautiful.
Get some shots in.
Yep.
Like I know my brother-in-law, he got a new rifle, a 22 Hornet he got from that Wolf Precision out of Pennsylvania there.
Yeah.
And he's been shooting that a ton.
Heck yeah.
With this nice weather especially.
Yep.
He's been going out on the weekends and in the mornings and shooting a ton. So yeah, it's a great time of year if you're into shooting your bow, or if you're into target shooting with a gun. It's a great time of year to get some shots on.
Oh yeah, great time.
Yeah, especially because this time of year usually is so muddy.
Yeah,
and we like really fast forwarded right through the muddy part.
Yeah,
and now it's just really dry. I think even if we got a rain, as dry as the ground is, it would just soak right in and be dry again.
Wouldn't really change much, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like we were saying, take advantage of it. Take advantage of the beautiful weather. I know it might be a little weird for the turkeys and stuff like that, but they're still good in it.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, the other thing I would say that's going to be really interesting when we go to the Iowa Deer Classic is going to be the Iowa Deer Classic has a really awesome like shed competition.
yeah,
Where guys bring in sheds.
I'm so excited to see that.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, there's some years where it can be pretty tough sledding because we've got a lot of snow
Yeah,
left.
exactly.
And again, here's the thing, like when you get south of Des Moines, generally, some years they get pounded, but for the most part, you get south of Des Moines, it's a different weather than it is in northern Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a year-to-year basis by first part of March, usually the snow's gone, so the guys are really getting out. But man, guys have been out now for
a while,
like a month.
Yeah.
They've been out since mid-January.
Yeah.
They've been out shed hunting. There's probably bucks that still are holding. You just saw a buck the other day that was holding both sides.
Yeah, nice buck.
Yeah.
Real nice buck.
Yeah,
probably,
when you rode your bike, right?
Yeah.
On Clear Lake, around Clear Lake.
Yeah, probably 125, 130 inch 8-pointer. Nice deer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that the Iowa Deer Classic shed competition could be really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
You might have to do a couple little updates on that.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane to walk up there and see guys will find some guys are lucky enough to find match sets. You're just finding one side.
Yeah.
Man, that's just bizarre. And of course, every year there's always a couple monster deadheads, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah, especially that'll be interesting to see this year with how bad EHD was too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there'll be a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's getting to be a fun time of year. That's for sure. I mean, it's coming quick, but you know, normally it's like this time of year, you're kind of still just hanging out, waiting for spring and stuff. But now it's like, okay, season's done, and now we're just right back into it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because my wife and I were talking about this the other day about our favorite seasons of the year. And for Tatum, which is weird, I think. Number one for her is winter.
Really?
Yeah, she loves winter.
Yeah.
She likes fall, probably is in her number two, and then summer, then spring.
Really?
Yep.
That's got to be like pretty much 180 of you.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing for me. I actually really enjoy springtime.
Yeah.
Spring, if you held a gun on my head, what's my favorite season? I love springtime.
Yeah.
I love hearing everything wake up. I love going out turkey hunting. I love hearing the birds and seeing everything go get green and just coming back to life. I don't know, and it's just the anticipation, the excitement of knowing there's so much of the year ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Of like what spring presents, and then summer, and then fall. Like, so for me, it's definitely number one is spring. Man, fall and summer are really close. I love summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the nice weather.
Right.
I don't want it to be 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
So probably number two would be fall.
Yeah.
And then number three is summer. And then number four is winter.
Mine goes spring, fall, winter, summer, tide.
Really?
Yep. Easy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love the fall.
Yeah.
Did I say spring?
You said spring number one.
No, fall, spring.
I was going to say.
Sorry.
I know. I was like, wow. Because I think we've talked about this not during the podcast, and I thought you said fall was your number one.
Yeah, sorry. That's on me, guys. Really, really apologize. Fall, spring, summer, winter, tide.
See, for me, if summer, and if like anybody from Texas is listening to this, we can't really complain about hot weather because you got to experience some hot weather last summer.
Oh yeah, with Scott and Buddy.
Yeah, and I've been down to Houston in the summer, and it is.
Oh man, it's a different kind of heat.
It's a different kind of heat, and it's unbelievable how much you can sweat. It's like you sweat, and you're like, how can I wear this shirt the rest of the day?
Yeah,
you know?
me and Scott were going in and setting up in the morning, and I'm like, the sun's not even up, and I am dripping sweat right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's another level hot there.
Yeah.
So we don't get that type of hot.
Yeah.
But if we have a hot summer, then I definitely like fall better than summer.
Oh, yeah.
If we have a nice, cool summer and it's just nice.
Nice out, yeah.
Yep. I really like summer.
Yep.
I like fall until it gets sad when hunting seasons are over. Then you're like, crap.
Yeah. Or when you're just getting your behind kicked in.
Yeah.
I'll fall.
Yeah. And you know what? I probably wouldn't mind winter as much if I had a snowblower. If I got a snowblower, then I probably wouldn't mind winter. I just don't like to scoop snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something we talked about off camera that I thought was kind of crazy, and be interesting to see if this ever happens. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
Okay.
So Apple Vision Pro, is that what it's called? the virtual. It's not like virtual reality, is it?
I don't know.
I don't even know what you call it, but it's kind of like those virtual reality headsets, but you can like wear it and still see out.
Yeah.
And it looks like you could like be sitting here right now and you could see like your computer screen over here and everything over here, everything over here.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see in the next couple of years if there has to be new regulation, hunting regulations based around that. Just for giggles, imagine if somebody built a Apple Vision Pro or whatever it's called. I'm sorry if I'm messing it all up, but they built an app that you could wear that thing when you went hunting.
Right.
And when a deer walked in, it would scan where the deer was and it would like show where the vitals were.
Yeah.
Like as the deer was like moving or something.
Yeah. Or like you can hook your phone scope up to it or something.
Yes.
Where you can see exactly where the scope is when you're not even, it'd be crazy.
Wouldn't that be wild if somebody wore that out hunting?
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. But think of that though. I mean, you could sit there, watch movies.
Yeah, dude. I mean, guys everybody would be doing all day sits just because they could watch movies all day.
Unbelievable.
I wish I had access to one just to see if you could shoot it with your shoot it while you're using
shoot your bow with it
and shoot it with your shoot your bow while you had it on your head.
I feel like you wouldn't be able to. It kind of sticks out of your head a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, that'd be really wild. Crazy what the world is, how the world is evolving technology-wise.
Or like if I'm sure that they've got obviously he's got to have some sort of camera built into it.
Yeah, it does, I think.
Yeah, so then you that's even think about those possibilities. It could be like a point of view camera.
Yeah.
Like literally wherever you're looking.
Where you're looking.
Exactly where you're looking. Years ago, I don't even remember the company that came out with it. They had a pair of like glasses. Tatum bought them for me for my birthday. It was like these really ugly glasses that were like camo, and they had a little camera right in the middle, and it had a little
SD slot.
No, I don't think it was an SD slot. I think it was like it had a little drive, and then you had to plug into it, and it would wherever you were looking, it would take video.
Yeah,
and I remember, and it had this little hard case, and I thought that was so cool, and she gave them to me, and so I was like, okay, and she's like, oh, we can share the experience and stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. And so I wore them hunting, and I wore them for a couple times. Then I realized, I was like, man, these things are kind of silly. And it wasn't as advanced as like the Tacticam, point of view cameras are now. But
yeah, I would imagine not.
But it was pretty funny.
I mean, there's a bunch of Snapchat came out with glasses that just connects right to Snapchat.
Really?
Yeah, that was like a couple years ago though. They kind of fell through, but now there's can't remember who it is.
Doesn't Google and Samsung have some stuff like that too? I thought they
might have been.
I thought
for some reason I'm thinking it's Bose for some reason that has a camera built in. Maybe I'm not. I could be totally wrong, but I know that there's maybe it's Ray-Ban. Maybe Ray-Ban. I don't know, but it's glasses that have cameras built into it. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Pretty wild.
Yeah,
thinking wild.
Yeah, that would be pretty insane if somebody built some sort of app that would do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, it's just interesting, to think about like how it always just keeps evolving, and the technology keeps evolving.
Every aspect of everything, pretty much.
Yeah. And the hunting industry and the hunting side of things is no different.
No, yeah, exactly.
Right? And I even like Ozonics. We talk about this all the time to people. Ozonics has been the next evolution of that in a lot of ways.
Yep, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
When you look at some of the different things that have evolved and things that have come up.
Right.
And that have really changed the landscape of hunting.
Yeah.
I think you could definitely say Ozonics fits into that.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool.
Well, I say we wrap it up.
Yeah.
Hey, short and sweeter today.
Sweet.
Little shorter and a little sweeter.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I think that we had a good conversation. And
yep, episode 43 in the books.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, if you can get out there, get out there. It's a great time to do some scouting. It's a great time to start thinking about how can I use this intel and how can I use my Ozonics to hunt harder, to maximize opportunity, to hone in on that buck that you're looking for.
Be thinking about Ozonics through this time.
Yep.
How you're going to use it, how it's going to help you. And boy, get ready for fall, baby.
Be here. Tell you what, dude, it'll be here before you know it.
We'll be throwing cameras up here, but I mean, come on. I'm getting fired up.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion. How many cameras you're going to be running now? You really stepped up your game.
Hey, sorry, I'm addicted to them. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm addicted to them. I love them. They're my favorite thing. I've been a little bit depressed lately and waking up to no Tacticam notifications. So, hey, sue me. I don't care.
You definitely have some sort of like dopamine, like
110%.
like a
little hit.
Yeah.
My mornings are way better when I wake up and I can just go look at some pictures just like this. It's amazing. I love it.
I'm really surprised that I'm honestly a bit surprised that you didn't put the cameras back out just so you could look at like squirrels walking by or something.
It's crossed my mind. I might do it this weekend.
Or just to have some deer. I thought in Harrisburg when you got a couple Tacticams, I thought there was a little grove,
little coulee
behind the house there.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know that you could have got permission, but you probably could have put one up in the yard.
Could have. Well, and
you never know. You could have got a deer or two on there. That would have been some good scouting to do.
And that
just in case you end up out there again.
Well, and they're still hitting that scrape too.
The scrape in the coulee?
No. Nope, not the one in the coulee, but the one out of that public. Every time I walk by it, it's freshly scraped. So
freshly scraped out, huh?
Yeah, so I could easily just toss a Johnson on there and get a couple pictures.
Hey, they're gonna start nubbing here before you know it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, won't be long.
So yeah, no, I've definitely thought about it. Maybe this weekend I'll toss a couple up. Who knows? I probably won't put all of them up.
You're so terrible.
The monthly is just going to get a little aggressive. So
yeah, that was part of the reason that Tatum had a little sit down with me last year, and she's like, "Do we?" Really? She was like, "I mean, it's funny. It's bless her heart that she knows enough about what's going on to be like, do we really need cameras up in February?" And I was like, yes. I need to know when the bucks are dropping.
Yeah.
Pre-scouting turkeys.
Yeah, you should have told her.
She's like, no, you don't. Shut them off.
You should have told her, I'm just waiting for the sheds to drop because then I know when to go shed hunting. Otherwise, I'm going to have to be spending multiple weekends.
Oh, dude, I had
going out and trying to find them, and they might not have dropped yet.
I had all sorts of excuses, and they were all bad.
So
she read me like a kindergarten book.
Basically, you're doing that just so you can spend more time with your wife. And then once they drop and you're like, hey, it's just one weekend.
But see, that whole thing didn't work to her advantage because I was like, hey, babe, we're saving the subscription fee per month. I'm going to go get this.
Yeah.
So who won now?
Sorry, Tatum. It's a lose-lose for you, kind of.
See, I'm always a step ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's a crazy step, I'm still a step ahead.
Yep.
All right, that's it. End of the episode. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
Ozonics Killerwinds podcast, episode 43 in the books.
Boom. See you next week.
Boom.